So what is endocrine system? Okay, so endocrine system is the system that control homeostasis, which is normal body function, by releasing molecules called hormones. Okay, so endocrine system produce hormones to control our homeostasis or normal body function. The organs that produce hormones, okay, are called the endocrine glands. So endocrine glands are part of the endocrine system that produce the hormones. Endocrine systems, along with the nervous system, regulates homeostasis or body functions and coordinates the communications within the body. This endocrine system is a unique system because the organs that produce the hormones, they are not connected to the organs that accept the hormones or the organ that affected by the hormone. So the endocrine glands and the target organs, they are mostly separate organs. So they are not within the same connection. There are several major endocrine glands. Okay. So there are actually many endocrine glands. There are some of them that is considered as the major endocrine glands. The first one, of course, the Pituitary Gland. This gland is also known as the master gland because this gland actually produces 9 hormones. Okay, 7 of them are produced by the anterior part. Okay, so anterior pituitary gland produces 7 hormones. The other 2 hormones are released by the posterior part of pituitary gland. Okay, so posterior pituitary gland release 2 hormones. So total, there are 9 hormones produced by pituitary glands. Where this pituitary gland located? It is actually under here, under our brain. So there is a small gland, it's called the pituitary gland. The second major gland is called the thyroid glands. And this thyroid gland produce 2 hormones, so 2 main hormones like calcitonin and thyroid hormones. And they also really controlling our metabolic rates. So it's very important hormones over here, especially thyroid hormone. Calcitonins control the calciums in the blood. So where this thyroid glands located? It is here. Okay, so in our neck. So it's a glands that look like a butterfly. So if we perform the dissections, we should be able to see these thyroid glands around our neck. The third one is called the parathyroid glands. It's called the parathyroid gland because this gland is actually located on the thyroid gland. So there are 4 parathyroid glands that's located in each corner of this thyroid gland. So riding on the thyroid gland. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 over here. Okay. So there are 4 parathyroid glands that are actually located on the thyroid glands. And this parathyroid gland only produce 1 hormone. It's called the parathyroid hormone or PTH. The next one is called the adrenal glands. These adrenal glands produce 5 hormones. So this adrenal gland is actually divided into 2 parts, the cortex, which is the outer part, and the medulla, the middle part. Adrenal cortex produce 3 hormones. The adrenal medulla produce 2 hormones. So total there are 5 hormones produced by these adrenal glands. Where this adrenal glands located? It is here, just on the top of kidney. So there are 2 adrenal glands. And then the next one is pancreas. And this pancreas is actually not purely endocrine glands, because pancreas also produce enzymes. So this is also exocrine glands. Therefore, pancreas is also known as a mixed gland. This is both endocrine and exocrine glands. Pancreas produce at least 4 hormones. Maybe the most famous one is insulin. Where it is located? This is here. So it is actually on the top of our stomach. So this is the in the abdominal pelvic cavity, we have this pancreas. And then pineal glands produce hormones called melatonin. This is the one that control our sleeping. Where is this pineal glands located? It is in our brains, on the back part of our brains over here. So very small gland is called the pineal gland. Thymus, this is the one that produces 4 hormones, and all of this hormone is really important for our immune system. Right? So where is this thymus located? It's here on the top of the heart. So if we dissect the thoracic cavity, and then we see the heart, on the top of the heart, we will see the thymus gland. And there are reproductive glands, because there are 2 reproductive system, male and female. Therefore, for this reproductive glands consists of ovary for female and testis or testicle for male. Ovaries produce 4 hormones. The most famous one may be estrogen, progesterone. And testis produce 2 hormones. The most important one is the testosterone. So where are these reproductive glands located? So for female reproductive organs, the gland is here, the ovary, still in the abdominal pelvic cavity. For the male, the testicle is located here, a little bit down from our body. And there is a kidney. Kidney also similar with pancreas. This is mixed glands, because kidney also produce other than hormones. The hormone that produced from the kidney, one of them is EPO, which is erythropoietin. This is very important for increasing red blood cell production. So these are the several major endocrine glands in our body. Now, I mentioned before there is an endocrine gland and also exocrine gland. So remember, endocrine glands are the glands that make up the endocrine system, and they produce hormones. Endocrine gland produce hormones. And this is the one that make up the endocrine system. And endocrine glands, they are ductless. So they don't have the duct, they don't have the channel, to secrete the production or the hormone. So the hormone will be released directly into the body fluid, mostly into the blood, into the bloodstream. Endo is actually mean inside, or internal. So therefore, the meaning of endocrine is actually internal secretion. So the hormone actually stay inside our body. Therefore, it's called the internal secretion. The hormone release into the bloodstream, stay inside our body, go to the target cells inside our body. This hormone acts only, okay, on group of cell is called the target cell. Okay, so only target cell will be responding to the hormone because they have this special receptor for specific hormones. Okay, so target cell is the cell that have receptor for hormone. Example of endocrine glands, okay, if it is purely endocrine glands like thyroid gland, pituitary gland, adrenal gland, pineal gland, they only produce hormone. Right? Therefore, it's called the purely endocrine glands. If they produce other than hormones, then it's called the mixed gland. Example is pancreas. Okay, pancreas, for the endocrine part, it produces insulin. But for the exocrine part, it produces like enzymes and water. Okay, so this pancreas is called the mixed gland. Kidney, another example of mixed gland. Liver is another example of mixed gland. Liver also produce hormone and produce other than hormone like cholesterol and etc. Okay. Now, what is exocrine gland? The exocrine gland is the gland that secretes the products into the duct or channel or tube. Okay, and this production, okay, this duct actually carry the production into the body surface or outside from our body. Okay. For example, okay, this exocrine gland produces sweat. Remember, sweat is produced from the sweat gland. It will be released outside into our body using this tube or duct or channel. Okay. Tears gland. Okay, tears. Okay. Saliva. This is also production of exocrine glands. Wax, okay, in our ear. Mucus, for example, in the nose, respiratory tract, GI tract, cells over here produce mucus, so they are exocrine gland. Milks is a production of exocrine gland and enzyme. Okay, so these are the product of exocrine glands. Remember, the products of endocrine gland is called hormones. Okay. And this exocrine gland, of course, secrete the product externally. So therefore, exit, okay, exo mean exit, mean external. Okay, so exocrine mean external secretion. Endocrine mean internal secretion. Deliver the product directly to a specific site, okay, maybe outside our body, like sweat, for example, or maybe go to the lumens of the intestine, like enzyme. They will be released into the intestines, okay, for helping the digestion. Examples of exocrine glands are, so if it is purely exocrine gland, they only produce product that is not hormone, is called purely exocrine gland. Example is sweat gland, is only produce sweat. Okay, tears gland in our eyes, producing tear. Salivary glands in our mouth produce saliva. Mucus glands in respiratory tract, GI tract, they produce mucus. Wax gland, this is in our ear, producing wax. Mammary gland is producing milk. Prostate gland is produce liquid for helping the sperm. That's purely exocrine glands. There are also mixed glands. They produce hormones and other than hormone, like pancreas. Remember, it produces insulin hormone, and it's also produce enzyme, which is exocrine production. Kidney, liver, they are considered as a mixed gland because they not only produce hormone but also produce other than hormone. And this is examples of two different glands. Okay, so this one, thyroid gland, is purely endocrine gland. It's produce only hormones. So the cells in these thyroid glands over here produce hormones, maybe thyroid hormone or calcitonin, and the products will release directly into the blood. So this is bloodstream. So there is no duct, right? There is no channel between the endocrine cell over here to the bloodstream. So they just release there. If we compare with this exocrine gland, in this case is a sweat gland. So this sweat gland in our skin. You see this, the cell that produce the sweat will produce the sweat in this lumen, and then there will be a duct or channel that will take that product outside. So the sweat will using this channel, okay, this duct over here, out from our body, outside here, on the surface of the skin. So this is the exocrine gland. So the main difference between the endocrine gland and the exocrine glands. Now, if we compare between the nervous system and endocrine system, remember both of these systems is actually control our normal body function or our homeostasis. There's several similarities and differences between these two systems. First, the nervous system, okay, and endocrine system, both of them, so this is the similarity, have a function to provide the communication within the body. So they're actually controlling our body system by communications. The way they communicate is by producing chemicals. Okay, so the chemical is used for communications in our body. Okay, and this chemical will have special receptor for the target cell. So they have the specific target cell for this chemical. Now the chemical that produced by the nervous system is called the neurotransmitter. So neurotransmitter are chemical produced by the nervous system. It's actually produced by the neurons, which is the nervous cells. And then the chemical that produced by the endocrine system is called the hormones. So hormone is also chemical that are produced by the endocrine system. Okay, so both of these neurotransmitter and hormones are chemical that used for what? For communication. Here. Now, how they affecting the system, our function, body function? So the nervous system respond in faster way. It's very, very fast. Okay? So when the nervous system release the neurotransmitter, then our body will act very fast, suddenly. Okay, boom. And there is an action after that. For the endocrine system, the effect is actually a little bit longer. It can last longer, even minutes, hour, even sometimes years. For example, the estrogen, testosterone is actually controlling different characteristics, like testosterone control the male characters, where the estrogen control female characters, continuously controlling this character. So it is less longer compared to the nervous system. Now, this is the table that's showing us the differences between the endocrine system and the nervous system. Okay, cell of the nervous system is called neurons. Okay, so neurons are the nerve cell. For the endocrine system, it's called the glandular epithelium, which is type of epithelial tissue or cell. the chemical that produced from neuron is called neurotransmitter. There are several types of neurotransmitter, like for example, dopamine. That's a name of neurotransmitter. Serotonin, for example. Acetylcholine. The chemical produced by the glandular epithelium or by endocrine gland is called hormones. And there are also several types of hormone like insulin, example. Okay, so insulin, growth hormone, thyroid hormones, that's hormones. Now the action, the receptors is in the area called the postsynaptic cells. Okay, so the neuron release the neurotransmitter on the postsynaptic area, and there will be cell that will accept that, let's say this is neurons, okay, releasing the neurotransmitter on the synaptic cleft over here, and this is the cell that will receive that neurotransmitter. Let's say this is muscle. Okay, so muscle is one of the receptor or target cell for the neurotransmitter. For the endocrine system or for the hormone, the target cell will have the receptor for the specific hormone. Okay, let's say insulin produced by the pancreas. So this is pancreas produce insulin. Insulin will be released into the blood. And it's carried into the target cell. The target cell for insulin actually is cell in liver. Okay, so liver cell will have receptor for this insulin. Okay, so the target cell will have specific receptor for the specific hormones. And then speed of the onset is really, really fast for neurotransmitter. Like for example, if it is released, then our muscle will be contract right away. Examples, if you touch something hot, for example, then the neurons will release the neurotransmitter for the acetylcholine. The acetylcholine will go to the muscle, and the muscle will contract, okay, to take your hand away from the hot stove. It's very, very fast. Insulin, for example, for the endocrine glands over here, the hormone insulin go to liver, and it will remove the glucose in the blood, taking into the liver, and it will change into glycogen. It's going to be slower action, so hours and hours and hours. Our insulin will try to reduce the blood glucose by producing the glycogen in the liver. So this is not fast action, it's slower action for the hormone. Duration of actions, again, is very brief for the nervous system. For the endocrine system, maybe brief, but mostly it lasts longer, maybe days, even sometimes, months or years. Okay, so this is for the hormones. It will, like for example, the one that controls the male and female characteristics, it's always produced like estrogen, testosterone. It will be continuously control the difference between male and female characters. Okay, so this is another examples of releasing the neurotransmitter and then the locations of the target cell and receptor. Like say this is a neurons. Okay, so neurons produce chemical is called the neurotransmitter over here. So the one that usually goes to the muscle cell is called the acetylcholine. It's a type of neurotransmitter. And then it's released into the what we call the synaptic cleft. And then the muscle cell over here will have receptor for this acetylcholine. So this muscle cell is called the postsynaptic cell. It is the one that respond to the neurotransmitter that released by the neurons. For the endocrine system, the gland, let's say this is pancreas. It has cell that produce the insulin. So this is insulin over here. And then it will be released into the blood. So blood will carry this insulin to the target cell. So remember, for insulin, the target cell is actually cell in the liver. Right? So the target cell will have special receptor. So let's say a receptor like this that will receive this insulin or this hormone. So it has special receptor. So the one that do not have receptor for the hormone, like this one, for example, it will not be affected by the hormone, even though the cell may be located at the same organ. So liver have different type of cell. There are some cells that have receptor for insulin. There are other cells that actually do not have receptor for the insulin. So only the one that have receptor for insulin will take the glucose from the blood. It will reduce the glucose level in the blood. Okay, now this is just introduction for several hormones names and also glands that produce that hormone. So we start with the first gland. It's called the hypothalamus. So hypothalamus is actually part of the brain that also produce hormone. So hypothalamus is considered as the organs that make connection between nervous system and endocrine system. Okay, so because this brain or part of the brain is actually produce hormone. So there are several hormones that produced by hypothalamus, okay, like CRH, corticotropic releasing hormone, gonadotropin releasing hormones, somatostatin, okay, growth hormone releasing hormone, prolactin inhibiting hormone, prolactin releasing factor, TRH, thyrotropin releasing hormone. Okay, and there is another name for this hormone. Okay, so like for example, prolactin releasing hormone is also known as dopamine, and there's another name. And the next one, remember, we have pituitary gland, the master gland. It is divided into two parts. Anterior part, okay, anterior pituitary gland produce several hormones, maybe 6 or 7 hormones, okay, like corticotropin, adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, growth hormone, luteinizing hormone, LH, prolactin or PRL, and thyroid stimulating hormone. So these 6 hormones over here, right? In another books, anterior pituitary gland also produce hormone called the MSH, melanin producing stimulating hormone. Okay, MSH, melanin stimulating hormone. So 7 hormone, but in this book is only list 6 hormone from anterior pituitary gland. Okay, the posterior part, posterior pituitary gland is only 2 hormone, ADH and OT. So ADH is antidiuretic hormone, oxytocin, OT. Another name for the ADH is called the vasopressin. This is the one that actually control our water in our body. Okay, so for example, is increased urination, sweatings, and then it's actually controlling the urinations and sweating. So it's actually try to conserve water in our body. Okay. This is the ADH or vasopressin. Thyroid glands, I mentioned before, produce 2 hormones, calcitonin, and these 2 hormones over here, the thyroxine and tridothyronine, sometimes they both is called as TH, okay, thyroid hormone. So basically 3 hormones, but we can say that both of these, thyroxine and triiodothyronine, as a thyroid hormone. So the 2 hormones, calcitonin and TH. Parathyroid hormone produce only 1 hormone, okay, PTH. Adrenal medulla, remember adrenal gland is divided into medulla and cortex. Medulla produce 2 hormones, okay, epinephrine and norepinephrine. The cortex, adrenal cortex produce 3 hormones, aldosterone, cortisol. So there should be one more over here. It's called androgens. Okay, in your book it's only list 2 hormones, but actually 3 hormones produced by the adrenal cortex. Okay, aldosterone, cortisol, and the androgen. Pancreas, this is mixed gland, okay, because it's also produce enzyme. The hormone that produced from pancreas, there are actually 4 hormones. The first one is glucagon, insulin, somatostatin, and the other one is called the pancreatic polypeptide. Okay, so there is another hormone produced by the pancreas. There are 4 hormones, but again, in your books, the one that we use here is only list 3 hormones from pancreas. I think that's all for the part 1. We will continue on part 2. Goodbye.